America great again.
RPN is not responsible for the views, actions, statements, or opinions of its guests, advertisers, or even its viewers. The information contained in this program is not to be confused with medical or legal advice. An appearance on this platform is not necessarily an endorsement, but as always, we encourage you to do your own research. Enjoy the show. Good evening, everyone. And of course, welcome back. Yes, it's time for another very exciting episode of Red Pill News Live. Hope you guys are having a lovely day. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, you know what they say, everything old is new again. And that can certainly be applied to today. Several months ago, when we learned that Joe DiGenova had taken the reins of the grand conspiracy grand jury down in Florida, I had a special feeling knowing that this was going to go in the direction we wanted it to. And it looks like it has. Not only has the grand conspiracy grand jury split into multiple grand conspiracy grand juries, Joe DiGenova has also widened the scope of his investigation to include new evidence that he and his team have discovered related to foreign influence in the 2016 election. And that has to do with some of the names of nations that we have talked about on many occasions, including Ukraine. Now, big surprise, the foreign influence wasn't on behalf of President Trump. No, it was against President Trump. In the first portion of the show, we also have a very special guest. My good friend Maryam Hanane is going to be joining us to talk about some exciting developments in relation to the case of Derek Chauvin and, of course, George Floyd. So do me a favor, sit back, relax, and grab your popcorn, because we're going to be right back after this with Maryam Hanane and much, much more.
Science proves that a healthy immune system is the body's first defense against the smallest of ailments to the most catastrophic. Coriolus Versicolor is the most sought-after, all-natural supplement for both humans and pets to help boost the immune system. There are over 400 studies worldwide on its effectiveness in humans, including Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and now from the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine. Together, we can help reverse this terrible tide now plaguing your loved ones and give them the immune-boosting supplements that they need.
Three boys taught me two things. Summer is an adventure and bugs are relentless. As an herbalist, I know you don't need harsh chemicals to protect your family. Here at Tamarack Garden, we've got you covered with natural sunscreen, mosquito and tick repellent that's even safe for your pets, a salve to draw out bug bites, and soothing sunburn cream, all made with the power of plants. Because we think summer memories should last longer than the bug bites. Tamarack Garden, protect your family naturally and eat your weeds.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you being here. Now, last week, a special hearing was convened on MK Ultra. And although those hearings might not have brought us much new information, I think a lot of people were hoping that there might have been. Our good friend Maryam Hanane seems to believe that there may be a connection directly back to the work that she has done in the past, including her book, Operation George Floyd, A Multi-Layered PSYOP, and, of course, also the documentary that was based on the same subject, The Real Timeline. So if you will all please join me in welcoming my very good friend Maryam Hanane to the show. Maryam, how are you today? It's so good to see you.
Hi, Zach. Nice to be here. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. So you have a new article on your Substack. We are going to be sharing out that link so everybody can read it. I do suggest everybody do that. Also, if you haven't yet, please make sure you see her documentary. Please make sure that you read her book. All of it is incredible work and oftentimes imitated by other lesser talented journalists as well. So How does Derek Chauvin potentially connect to the situation with MK Ultra?
So let's just take a step and ground this. So we had this MK Ultra hearing 53 years after they supposedly suspended it. But has it continued? Chances are yes. So we also had CERN shutting down last week. We had a Mercury retrograde. We had a full moon in Capricorn. Retrogrades are often when you revisit things. So this MK Ultra hearing, I listened to it twice. There's a lot of interesting things as an aside before we get into Derek. For instance, they had an NIH woman representing. And one person, I was listening to it, so I wasn't watching who was saying what, but basically said, why did the Dems send you here? And we had a segue where we're talking about this bioweapon. And I, after all the research I've done on transhumanism, have to scratch my head and wonder if there's any activity between all these frequencies and whatever they've put into people, because it seems more and more people are on autopilot, and there is this kind of bifurcation that's going on where people want to be authentic and real and in their hearts, and others. So Derek, people don't know, but he was trained in Germany.
I certainly did not.
Yeah. So yeah. I'm going to read just a paragraph from my book. Derek Chauvin, who served in the Army Reserve as a military police officer during two separate active duty periods, from September 1996 to February 1997 in Rochester, Minnesota, and September 1999 to May 2000 in Germany. He won several medals there too. His job duties include criminal investigations, traffic enforcement, and proactive patrol. When I looked into the Combat Maneuver Training Center in Haven Falls, Germany, I learned that their mission is to provide realistic arms training for the United States Army and Europe in force-on-force exercises. What are force-on-force exercises? It turns out FOF training is aimed to reduce the novelty effect associated with a future encounter where the potential for violence is high. A primary benefit of FOF training is learning how to see, process, and properly respond to a series of events in which it is possible to misread the situation and underreact or overreact. Training typically involved scenarios, drills, and exercises with role-playing in tightly controlled, simulated encounters. So he also trained at what it was known as the School of Assassins, where they trained a lot of
That's a big one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the other week, the informant, John Tursak, calls me on the regular. He tried to...
Can you just,
ahead.
as quickly as you can,
Yes.
just remind people of who John Tursak is?
So John Tursak is the man that on Black Friday, November 23rd, 3 years ago almost, he is a La MA high-end gang member with the cartel. He's been in jail for 30 years, and he's read my book. So I tried to initially contact him. The government described me as a woman who made a documentary on the bees, who was a conspiracy theorist, psycho kook, and tried to dissuade him. But I persisted and we connected. We did connect, and he said, I may be a cold-blooded murderer, but I'm no liar. And he's had a hard time getting his story out, and here we are. Do you know the status of Derek?
No, and this is actually the first time that I had thought about it. Well, when we spoke over the weekend, I remember when he was stabbed, and I remember thinking, well, I'm sure that we're going to learn what happened to Derek. And, I think I heard that he was alive, but I never heard any other updates on his status. And what is his status, Miriam?
So, I have images of the weapon, the simulated knife. It's pretty big. And I have a picture of what looks like Derek, bloated and bloody. Apparently, Derek is paralyzed in diapers. And, when he read my book and I said, so were you socially engineered to stab Derek? And he said, kind of. Now, a very important point that he was recruited out of Pelican Bay at age 19. His agreement says that it will continue for as long as deemed necessary. So arguably, he's still on the working with the FBI.
John Tursek. John Tursek.
John Tursek, correct. And he was involved in a instrumental case in Los Angeles with Majorca, who wanted someone's head and put him, I think this guy, Chuy Martinez. In any case, so go back to Derek. There was also the Pardon Derek movement, march by Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire. That page is 404. People can read in my Substack. And arguably he's in a medical facility, according to John Tursek. When I looked at what the reporters claim, there is no real medical facility. So what is the true status? And even if there's in the article, even if he was pardoned, he would only get a not federal pardon. It really didn't make a difference.
Right.
So now let's go back to MK Ultra. So John, last week, I said, dude, don't you think like Derek went to John for legal help? He was left for dead, and that was before he was stabbed, and went to John because John has 30 years of pro se defending himself. He's legally savvy. And I don't know exactly how it ended up for a battle in the library, but he did go to John for assistance and support. And John did not like that this signature move. There are internal affairs documents where he used the signature move on women. And he described him as creepy. The mainstream media wanted the stories that they did put out on Derek. They wanted to paint him as a loner. His first job was at McDee's. And how he was on the payroll in Minnesota and also training in Germany. But you could see during the trial of Derek Chauvin that he seemed a little bit out of it.
He was kind of vacant.
Yes, that's a very good word.
Yeah.
That's a very good word. And a lot of people are vacant today. So John, when I said, look, dude, like, come on, the guy was used. And he said to me that they found meth in his blood the day of the stabbing when he went, why they were looking in his blood. But I also said people have said is Derek's like sipping margaritas in Mexico. And I said, is the guy even alive? When they did the pardon movement back in 2025 of March. And he said, they told me to keep him alive.
And who is they? I mean, specifically, did he ever get into who they were?
Well, I would argue that it's definitely the FBI.
Yeah. I wonder if I've just wondered if perhaps he had a specific handler or a specific group of people that he would be in contact with on a regular basis. I mean, I suppose if you're in John Tursek's shoes, you're in prison for the rest of your life. You're not going anywhere. Anybody could come in at any time and be like, hey, John, I'm part of, your contract, and this is what we want you to do next. I guess, they don't necessarily need to identify themselves, but it just, there's always a handler.
That is a very good question. I want to tell you in the audience, I get 5 minutes at a time, like several 5-minute conversations, right?
Okay.
So and I was looking at the pacer when I was trying, I'm like, he went through this lawyer, this lawyer, this lawyer. And then there was one who stuck. And then when I reached out to him, he was going through all the requests. And he said, well, this one would make the perfect pen pal. And he said, old man, stop effing with me. Is she at least hot? And he said, well, in this picture, she's covered in bees. So he remembered what the government said when they said this bee lady.
Yeah.
So when I told him, because he's converted to Islam, when I told him my name is Miriam, he said that he had a lightning strike moment. Anyway, we've connected, even though he is a murderer. But when he tried to put me as his media expert, I said, chances are that's not going to happen, right? So now he has a new team, and he's trying again to put me on his payroll, and I need a gig. you know?
Oh, wow.
So,
Well, it's a crazy topsy-turvy situation. Miriam, tell everyone, please, where they can go to read your Substack. And while you're doing that, I'm going to pass out the links as well to your book and to the movie, and because I gotta throw it onto every platform here.
so the movie, I am inviting people to come to my website. I'm even banned on Vimeo. And so you have to get old school DVD. You can reach out to me at Miriam@honeycolony.com, and I could give you a digital screener. The book is on Amazon. I would like to say that the publisher, who is really a printer, is still selling my book despite 2 cease and desist letter, and is arguably a Fed. This is the world that we live in. So I would invite people, you can use GF Book to get 15% off. Yes, it is a whopper, but it is a brick. It is a record for the future. It took 73 years to find out that Frank Olson was murdered and drugged with LSD because he was going to come out about anthrax.
Right.
So, you know, the truth will eventually come to the surface. So this book is a document, and I'm a scribe. You can go to miriamhinane.com and find the book there. And you can buzz on over to honeycolony.com. I am a functional medicine coach. So I'm also here to help people live their best life you know how important health is.
Absolutely.
And hi to your mom.
Yes, I believe she's in the audience. So she might reach out to you as well. So, all right. Anyways, it was great to see you. And the article is great. And the connection to Derek Chauvin at MK Ultra is not something I've seen anybody else make. So really interesting. And I honestly can say I don't think anybody has done as much work, quality work, on this subject as you.
Thank you, Zach.
Oh, you're very welcome.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much. Thank you to your audience. And I'll see you around.
We'll see you on the flip side. Thank you so much. We'll see you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
All right. Thank you so much to Miriam, you guys. And please do me a favor. Go ahead and check out her Substack. This is the article right here. Exclusive Derek Chauvin memory hold for life. I mean, think about it. When was the last time you heard anything about Derek Chauvin? They were bending over backwards for a while to say anything that they could negative about him on the internet. And after he was stabbed and he was put into the medical infirmary, it has been memory hold. Nothing has come out about him. And I had no idea that he was paralyzed. I had no idea that he was using a colostomy bag and he was in diapers and the man couldn't walk. He was confined to a wheelchair. I mean, they have quite literally taken Derek Chauvin and memory hold him. That is the best phrase that you could possibly use. All right. So thank you again to Miriam, you guys. Make sure that you're following her. She's also on X, and you can find her. Hold on. I know that she just retweeted me and I follow her, but I need to actually look at my notifications. Let me see. Where is she? Anyways, Lisa, if you would do me a favor and find Miriam's account so that I can share that with people here as well, that would be awesome. I know that she just got home. Okay, so let's begin. First of all, after that little update from Miriam, we have an update on the status of that building in New York City. So, like we were saying yesterday, I don't know how they're going to save this thing. Apparently, this is something that they have thought about. And I have seen in residential construction how buildings can be saved, resettled, lifted up. They can put new supports in, and it's basically by going down to the foundation and finding a truss and then setting up a stabilizing joint right there. So, and they've got a whole bunch of them. You can see here. I forgot what these are called. I had it in my mind, and it is completely gone. So they have essentially put these stabilizing bars in there. But you can see they've got quite a ways to go. I mean, like, this is just stopping it from getting any worse. But each and every one of these bars that we see here on the left, they can be extended. And so they can continue to go up until they get it to the point where it is supposed to be there. And then I'm sure they're going to drill down into the concrete foundation, maybe into the bedrock. And then they'll be able to finalize it. But here, the work continues. I'm sure that they're going to have to do this all around the building. I can't believe that they're even going to save it. Here we had a press conference last night as well from the NYC Buildings Commissioner, and they talked about the process of the stabilization. It's 12 minutes. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but I just wanted to hear a little bit from him.
Staying this evening and continuing to cover the situation on the ground. I first want to say thank you to the very many public servants and colleagues in government. This has been a tremendous effort by the FDNY, the Office of Emergency Management, New York City Police Department, several public members of this area have stepped up. We're offering spaces so that we can meet and talk and plan. We also appreciate the work of the contractors and their licensed professionals as we work through the different steps.
So I did see a protest yesterday, and I'm sorry I neglected to grab the clip, but apparently what the owners of the Pfizer building had done was seek out non-union labor in the extension of this building. And in doing so, they also apparently got steel that was not quite up to snuff. And so now they're obviously paying the price because they thought they were doing it on the cheap in the first place. And obviously they'll have to do everything all over again. And then all of the damage to the various floors, not only, you know, on the outside where we can see it sagging, but also where the building meets and then abuts up to the portion of the building that is not sagging. So there is a lot of money that is going to have to go into essentially stabilizing this and getting it to a place where people are going to feel comfortable living inside of it. Now, my question to you is, would you live in this building after they say it is completely stabilized and there is no more danger of sagging or collapse? I can tell you I would not feel safe living there. That would be the last place that I would live. Not that I would live in New York City, but there are many people who do live in New York City and love it. It's just not my bag. It's too much. There's too much going on. It's too busy. And then, of course, you got all the fees and everything. I mean, just going and parking in New York City is like one of the craziest things. You guys ever parked in one of the old parking ramps in New York City? We went there, a couple of me and a couple of buddies went there like 20 years ago for New Year's Eve. We went to Times Square and we had to park in this parking ramp, and the roof of the parking ramp was like maybe 2 inches above the roof of the car. And it was like you were in a catacomb. It was awful. I was just like flabbergasted at how tight the space was. And it was like $200 or something like that for a couple of hours. I was like, this is insane. I will never come back here. Anyways, yes. Oh my God. Yes. Parking ramps. The parking ramps are nuts in New York City. I would never go. All right. Now, like I said, everything old is new again. We have brand new information about Jack Smith, the improperly appointed special prosecutor, who it appears he and his team also repeatedly improperly mishandled classified information during the course of his investigation into President Trump allegedly mishandling classified information. You cannot get much more meta than that. So this detail is coming to us from Chuck Grassley and his Senate team, where they are continuing to investigate the malfeasance of Jack Smith and the people who worked underneath him during 2023-2024. Now, the team apparently repeatedly mishandled classified materials during this investigation. And Jack Smith, if you'll remember, he indicted President Trump on 37 federal counts in Miami, June of 2023, for unlawfully, he claimed, but it was lawful because it was the president, and the president had already declassified all of the information that he took with him, not to mention the Presidential Records Act. I don't need to go into all of the various reasons why President Trump was not guilty of anything, but he was storing presidential records at his Mar-a-Lago private residence at the estate, which was then protected by Secret Service agents, not to mention the area of the home where all of this, yes, improperly mishandled. I was trying to be as obtuse as I possibly could, Nikki. The area of the home where all of these documents were maintained, it was a private residence. People visiting Mar-a-Lago weren't going to just walk into a Trump bedroom and find boxes of these documents. And then, of course, we know that the FBI, they completely staged the scene, the famous photograph of all of those documents with the classified folders all over the floor, as if President Trump was just some kind of a slob or something like that. So anyways, he was indicted on 37 federal counts. President Trump was charged with 31 counts under the Espionage Act, the willful retention of national defense information. There was another 6 indictments for process crimes stemming from conversations he had with his lawyer. There was also, of course, the piercing of the veil of a lawyer-client confidentiality, unheard of in every respect. FBI agents staged those photos. Well, earlier today, Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley released new messages that nobody has seen yet. It shows how Jack Smith himself mishandled this classified information. Now, from Senator Grassley, he said the messages obtained by U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley show personnel at the U.S. Department of Justice under Joseph Robinette Biden, including personnel assigned to Jack Smith's special counsel office, which was improperly appointed, potentially mishandled classified materials themselves amid Smith's own investigation into President Trump's alleged mishandling of classified documents. Now, the messages Chuck Grassley released and provided by the DOJ in response to Senator Grassley's oversight requests include the following. Number one, an individual who was given access to classified materials on Jack Smith's team were never confirmed that they had the requisite need to know, meaning they had not yet been given the clearance to even look at the information that Jack Smith and his team was giving them. Number two, there was also at least one instance in which the potential movement of classified materials housed in a DOJ sensitive compartment information facility, a SCIF, was unaccounted for. So much like Hillary Clinton taking information out of a SCIF and then moving it onto her private unsecured bathroom email server in Pkwy, New York, this was information that was never meant to leave a SCIF. Now, number three, there was also a violation and incident which occurred again when a SCIF, which was accessible to the special counsel personnel, was left open overnight and potentially longer. The SCIF door was merely left unlocked, and anyone without the proper and requisite access or need to know status could have come in and just taken a look at everything. So the real comedy of errors here is that all of this information was deemed so highly classified that President Trump, the man who himself could have declassified and did declassify all of this information if he's deemed necessary because he was the commander-in-chief, the president of the United States of America. When it came to Jack Smith and his team securing that information, they didn't even bother to do it. It is always a case of projection from these people. And you know what? If it's not projection, then it goes to show you just how simple and easy it is to overlook the various crazy, winding, and unnecessary laws that we have plaguing the people of the United States of America. Now, when it comes to national security, that is obviously very, very important. But is it too overly complicated, or is it the process that is too overly complicated? I don't know. Until it's addressed, the things that the special counsel team did were undoubtedly against the law. Now, Grassley had this to say after revealing it to the American people. Talk about the pot calling the kettle black. According to these messages, Biden DOJ personnel may have committed the very offense for which Jack Smith was prosecuting President Trump. These records expose yet another double standard of justice. Now, while Hillary Clinton, again, removing information from a SCIF and putting on her private unsecured email bathroom server in Pkwy, New York, and Joe Biden, of course, the vice president of the United States, taking information that he never had access to, never had the ability to declassify, and storing it in his private office at the University of Pennsylvania, both of them escaped accountability for the mishandling of this same type of highly classified information. Neither of them were president. Neither of them could have even been in the position to make those things no longer classified or make it not make it legal by very nature or virtue of the fact that they were the ones doing it. Jack Smith and the Biden DOJ set out to paint President Trump as a felon. They sought to ruin him politically. They sought to put him in prison for the rest of his life. They sought to bankrupt him. They sought to ensure that he would never return to the White House. These and other records, Grassley says, I have made public show the Biden Justice Department was unquestionably careless, not to mention highly hypocritical. And there is even much, much more. So let me leave reader view here, and we can dive into it. So, there were concerns that individuals were provided access to classified materials without having received the need to know and the material that was housed in the skiff that may have been moved. And we find that information from these messages right here, which appear to be exchanges between two members of Jack Smith's team, Julie Edelstein and Carly Rodriguez. Now, this is from Sunday, October 15th, 2023, and the messages continue over the course of the next 3 days. Just picked up a classified letter for the other case. 0 heads up from CISOs. Just happened to be here. Ridiculous. Let me know if you want me to call Jay and talk him through the material in the skiff to get solid numbers. Well, thanks. I just tried calling Brett, but he didn't answer. Let's give him a couple of minutes, but if we don't hear back, probably a good idea. Also, I love how Dan just moved forward with clearing out some of the need-to-know information. Were there any concerns? Don't care if there were. Just don't want Jade to leave, but also not sure if Brett moved the material or not. Would be best to hear back from him first. Got him on the phone now, and Brett doesn't remember. Can you call Jay? Yes, thank you so much. So this skiff that was accessible to the special counsel staff was left open overnight, potentially longer. This would have been a violation and an incident of their need to keep this information under lock and key. And there was also limited help with oversight to help secure the skiff. We have another series of messages where they mention the possibilities of this happening. The people involved in that were William O'Neill and, again, Carly Rodriguez. And then we have a series of messages between Stephanie Van Bursick Stephanie Van Bursick was identified in the messages as opening the skiff the day before, resulting in the violation and the incident, and she appears to have been the assistant to Jack Smith. And then we have another set of messages between Molly Gaston and Thomas Wyndham. And in those messages, they are discussing, once again, the whole team gaining access to all of these materials. Now, the information that Chuck Grassley has put out could potentially lead to charges for Jack Smith or any of the other people on his team. I sincerely hope that the Department of Justice charges them and puts them through the exact same level of scrutiny as what they did to President Trump and any of the people that helped him. I also, frankly, hope that they pierce the veil of attorney-client confidentiality and force their lawyers to testify against them. It's only fair as far as I'm concerned. But in the event of that not happening, we still have a lot of people that have, in recent months, been taken down by the FBI. And every single day, it seems, we are getting more releases and information about people who are being arrested, about fraud rings that are being broken up. We've got several that we're going to talk about later in the show. But just at a high level, FBI Director Kash Patel posted this earlier. He said, 113 active spies from foreign countries have been arrested. And this is the first time I have heard a figure such as this. Under Kash Patel's reign as director of the FBI, we have caught 113 spies that were working in our country to perhaps undermine the United States of America, perhaps running ops against people that are citizens of the United States working for the federal government. Counterintelligence arrests have jumped by 53% under Kash Patel. As many people are already aware, we have had a massive uptick in cartel arrests, 4,800 since Kash came on, and 850 active plotters have been stopped. There have also been a massive surge, 77% surge in cyber indictments, and he just wants everybody to know that the FBI is actually working. Let me take a look at this video real quick.
There's a war for our national security. The FBI is leading the charge by tearing down red tape.
Oh, what is that song? Is that the A-Team? Oh, somebody's going to notice this.
And standing up a fierce defense, they're mounting an impenetrable wall against our adversaries. They've neutralized 113 active spies, and counterintelligence arrests jumped 53%. Just think about that. 53%. It means our tech stays home and our defense secrets stay locked down. But the FBI didn't stop there. They forced 62 removals.
Oh, it's Hawaii 5-0. Thank you very much. It's a little bit before my time. I have seen it before, though.
Of Chinese spies in 2026 alone. That historic 933% increase completely shattered Beijing's deep cover operations. And we've stopped playing games with cartels, finally targeting them as the foreign terrorists they are. This shift's led to 4,800 arrests and stopped over 850 active plotters before they could strike. Hundreds of terrible disasters stopped cold. They're also dominating the digital front, with a 77% surge in cyber indictments and 32 enterprise dismantlements. That means the hospitals your family relies on, the banks holding your savings, and the local power grids keeping your lights on are completely locked down and defended. People can argue all they want, but the numbers don't lie. With the FBI leading the charge, our country's safer than ever.
I really like that. I love the aesthetic. That is so great. Anyways, yeah, the Hawaii 5-0 thing. Book 'em, Dano. I definitely remember that. Good job. I'm glad to see that the FBI is continuing their good work. Now, he also had posted this after the outstanding early success of the FBI's most wanted fraudster list, already arresting 2 subjects within weeks with apprehensions out of Somalia and the Philippines. Today, the FBI is announcing another addition. Fahad Mohammed Noor. He's been on the run since 2022. Now, this man is a particularly low-life scumbag POS. He is wanted for his alleged involvement in a fraud scheme exploiting the federal child nutrition program in Minnesota. Of course, during the COVID-19 pandemic, he laundered millions in funds intended to reimburse the cost of serving meals to kids in need. Now, Mr. Noor was the owner of a vendor and purported food supplier who received more than $5 million in fraudulent federal child nutrition programs, allegedly stealing from the program using fake invoices. Noor has ties to Somalia, and he may be living there. There was also another feeding our future style scammer that was fairly high profile and large in terms of the amount of money that they stole. And I believe that that they had connected Ilhan Omar directly to him as well. He may have just been on the original email chain where they were talking about Omar's office. But it's yet another tie directly back to Ilhan Omar. And although the FBI is doing good work, I'm just going to say this out there, put it out there for you guys again. Please, please, please investigate Ilhan Omar. What are you guys waiting for? Nothing would make the base happier than to see Ilhan Omar indicted and removed from her position and ultimately, at the end of the day, have her denaturalized and deported back to Somalia. Now, he says that led by POTUS and Vice POTUS, the White House Task Force to Eliminate Fraud, the White House Task Force has already seen over $13 billion in fraud uncovered on behalf of hardworking Americans, and there is more to come. If you have any information concerning this case, please contact the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI and your local FBI field office, the nearest American embassy or consulate, and you can also submit a tip online at tips.fbi.gov. Okay, and here is Fahad Mohammed Noor. He's a bigger one for the Somalians. Generally, he's got the forehead, all right, but he's got a slightly larger constitution, 190 pounds. Usually, the male Somalis, even if they're 6'5", they're $140 soaking wet. So yeah, love to see this and continue to bring it home, boys. Really do. All right, now I need to say thank you to a couple of my friends over here on Rumble and Pilled. Let me first say, Trump 1, thank you for the cookie. Sean Joe, thank you for the can. Laura, thank you for the cookie. She says, I sent you the links about the Trump account for kids born from 2016 on. It's in your X DMs. Okay, let me find that. Aha, Laura, yes, you are right here, right up at the top. Okay, so... Okay, so this is what I was referring to the other day about the Dell donations, billions for kids born 2016 on for the Trump account. Okay, so let me pull this over here to the main screen.
Susan and I are very honored to be here as we celebrate the 250th. You know, 42 years ago, I started a company in my dorm room with $1,000. And today, every newborn American child will start their life with $1,000 invested in America's greatest companies.
All right, so let's see. Today, every newborn American child will start their life with $1,000, and we are contributing $6.25 billion, 250 to 25 million eligible American children. Okay, born between 2016 and 2024.
Compounding for the future. But Susan and I didn't want the children that were born just before to be completely left out. So we are contributing $6.25 billion, $250 to 25 million eligible American children born between the ages of 2016 and 2024. Invested in America's greatest companies for their future, for their tuition, for down payments.
Well, that's great. It's not lost on me that 2016 is the first year of President Trump's first term in office. I think that's probably what they were going for. Well, great news. If you have a child that was born between 2016 and 2024, then obviously that child is also now eligible. It is totally free to set up those accounts. We've talked about this before. If you want any information about that, all you got to do is go to the White House's website, and they will show you exactly what to do and how to set it up. All right, now I have, I need to go through the rest of the thank yous. Thank you, Laura, again. Thank you again to Sean Joe for the cookie. Thank you to No Thanks Joe, who says, wonderful Wednesday to you, Lisa and Zach. Thank you for your hard work, you guys, and love your reporting. God bless, be safe. You stay safe as well, homie. Sean Joe, thank you for another cookie. Darla, thank you for a can. She says, hello, Zach and Lisa. This very hot afternoon, it is really hot. I took the dogs outside and I was sweating. Weather and news are on fire. Thank you for the hottest topics. Appreciate you. Sean Joe, thank you for the cookie, and then thank you for another cookie. Also, thank you to Principled Enigma 2 times. He says, first of all, what a great guest, bro. I know, I love Miriam. She's so great. Please make sure you follow her. I'm going to be rewatching this section. I'm actually going to be taking that section of Miriam and I talking, and I'm going to be uploading it separately. I think I'll put it on. I gotta start putting stuff on the backup channel just so that it's being used. Also, several times this has been a subject of interest for many decades. And he also says Todd Blanche is very clearly pursuing conviction against criminals who simply happen to be politicians. He's following the money, kind of like what happened to Capone. I absolutely agree with you. Yes, 100%. All right. So the problem that we have here is the justice system itself. Although we have perhaps a great attorney general, although we have perhaps the U.S. attorneys in place, the judges and oftentimes the juries can be a major detriment, stopping us from getting the justice that we so dearly need. And we found out today that Judge Hannah Dugan, the former Wisconsin judge, who had allowed an illegal alien, or not just allowed, I mean, she assisted an illegal alien with avoiding ICE. She also completely robbed his victims of their ability to get justice. She's not going to get any prison time. She was found guilty, and the government was looking for between 15 and 24 months, but the judge said, nah, we're just not going to put her in prison. We're not even going to put her on probation. They're only giving her a $5,000 fine. So December, I think a lot of us were very happy when Hannah Dugan was found guilty of obstruction for the help of that illegal alien to avoid ICE. She was acquitted of count 1. That was the misdemeanor, but she was found guilty on count 2, which was the felony. And she was facing up to 5 years in prison. If this was a normal person, not a judge, I think that they probably would have received prison time. But the judge that was overseeing the case, District Judge Lynn Edelman, who is a Clinton appointee, decided that fining her $5,000 was appropriate, that Hannah Dugan did not need to go to prison. Now, although this does sting just a little bit, I will say that because Hannah Dugan was convicted of this felony, she is no longer ever eligible to sit on the bench. She can never be a judge again. I don't think that she's going to be able to be a lawyer ever again either. And she's 67 years old, so who knows what she's planning to do. I can't imagine they're going to give her a pension from the county or from the state. But yeah, so Hannah Dugan gets off easy. She does not have to basically do anything except cry about the fact that she's not going to be able to work in her chosen profession anymore. So, yeah, very, very mixed bag on this one. Kind of pissed off, but still we do have a measure of justice. If I had to guess, we might start seeing Hannah Dugan doing appearances on CNN or MS Now or something like that. Yeah, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. Hannah Dugan deserves to at least go to jail for some period of time. I mean, think about the crimes that people close to President Trump were alleged to have committed. Steve Bannon, not complying with a congressional subpoena when he was protected by his relationship with the president. You know, the advisors of the president cannot be compelled to come forward and speak about those private conversations. And yet Congress did it anyways. And they put him in prison. He wasn't the only one. Put him in prison for 4 months or something like that. Hannah Dugan gets nothing. And she essentially helped an illegal alien escape getting arrested and put those officers' lives at risk when she did it. So not happy about it. All right. Now, in addition to that, we do have an interesting announcement coming out of the state of California. Now, if you'll remember, California was on the hook for more than $22 billion from the U.S. Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund. That debt was announced several months ago. And the reason that debt is on the books is because California took all of these loans during the COVID-19 pandemic so that they could pay unemployment benefits. Now, turns out that the vast majority of those unemployment benefits were totally fraudulent. A lot of that money went overseas. Plenty of it went to the commissary accounts of prisoners, not only in the California penal system, but in many other prisons and jails around the country. But the long and the short of it is California took these loans. They agreed to pay them back, and it all happened under Gavin Newsom's watch. California is the only state in the entire country with an outstanding federal unemployment insurance loan balance. Nobody else was stupid enough to do this. And as a direct result, California business owners are being forced to pay higher federal payroll taxes so they can bail out the incompetence of their state government in Sacramento, not to mention the corruption of their state government. Every other state that borrowed during the pandemic has all repaid their loans. California is not. And during and after that pandemic, California raked in record budget surpluses. At one point, they were near $100 billion in budget surpluses. They could have paid back that money at that time. But instead of using that windfall that was in their accounts to repay those loans, like all of the responsible states did, Newsom and the Democrat supermajority in Sacramento just sat on the money. They used it to spend on other priorities, probably on illegal aliens, stuff like that, and they let the debt itself balloon with interest. So the state has paid $1.8 billion in interest since 2021, and Newsom's latest budget proposing another $668 million in interest payments this year while putting $0 towards the actual principal. This is unsustainable. They're not going to be able to keep this up for forever because the bill is going to continue to grow. The California EDD's Unemployment Insurance Fund forecast officially projects the outstanding outstanding loan balance is going to reach that $22 billion figure by the end of this year. Now, the Trump administration is also directly signaling that they are not going to allow it to slide, and they are expanding their scrutiny of these unemployment insurance programs outside of California. The U.S. Department of Labor Inspector General Anthony D'Esposito warned earlier today that New York is currently hemorrhaging taxpayer dollars through fraud and improper payments. Let's go ahead and hear it directly from Louis.
Labor Department recovered more than 512.
Hang on just a second. Looks like the volume is way low.
Labor Department recovered more than $512 million in fraudulent unemployment claims related to the CARES Act back to the Treasury Department. This is the second major recovery from the Maryland Division of Unemployment Insurance, now totaling more than $1 billion. Inspector, tell us more about this. How did this happen?
Yeah, listen, it's great work. Again, I am blessed to be able to work with amazing people, auditors, investigators, administrators who have been working night and day and have been all in on this effort to root out fraud that President Trump has put forth. And this was a huge undertaking. And I think what's critical about this is not just the identification of the money, but the fact that because of Vice President J.D. Vance's fraud task force, we were able to work together with the U.S. Treasury and
is somebody making a smoothie in the background? What the hell is going on?
Claw this money back into the Treasury for the American people. I mean, there is so much money out there when it comes to fraud. And again, you look at a place like California. Gavin Newsom is $22 billion in debt to the UI Trust Fund, which means he owes over $22 billion to the American people because of money he borrowed into unemployment insurance. And quite frankly, that bill is eventually going to have to be paid. And right now, the people who are holding the bag are the business owners in California. You take a place like New York, my hometown, your hometown. I mean, the state of New York is losing between $1.5 and $2 million per day in either overpayments or fraud. That's per day, not per week, not per month, not per year. Almost $2 million per day. So next week, we're going to have a strike team heading into New York to start reviewing all of this documents so that we can make sure that the money is kept for the American people.
Well, the number.
Okay, so that's big news. A strike team heading into New York to address this fraudulent activity. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it's fraud. It's not just overpayments. And that is on top of the surge of ICE and federal officials going into New York to deal with the issue of illegal aliens inside that state. Tom Homan has in the past week said that they are surging for that as well. So looks like we have a surge in a number of different areas. Now, Anthony D'Esposito has been doing an incredible job at the Department of Labor. Through him and the administration, we've also learned that there is now a crackdown and major investigation focusing on H-1B visa fraud. Now, if you are interested in helping out with this investigation, I wanted to show you guys this tool. I've spoken about it before. The creator of it is layoffhedge.com, and this H-1B Visa Explorer allows you to drill down into your local area and see what companies are bringing foreign workers in on F1 or H-1B visas. Now, here I am. Obviously, I'm in Florida. I looked up a local zip code for Flagler County, which is where we live. And in I looked up Flagler because I wanted to compare it to the rest of the counties in Florida. But you can see here, let me just make this larger, the number one importer of H-1B visa employees in the state of Florida is in Hillsborough County. They've got 48,662 H-1B visas that are there right now. And the number one employer of H-1B visas is a company called Infosys. Now, they have this labeled as a middleman. I think that means that Infosys is a company that actually brings in the H-1B visa holders and then places them at other companies in the area. The second largest employer of H-1B visas is Miami-Dade, and it is the University of Miami that has those people here. They have 39,036. Now, we've spoken about this before. Universities do not have to comply with the cap number on H-1B or any other type of visas. Because it's a university, they can just bring in as many as they want. And then you also are going to find that a company called Tata Consultancy Services Limited is the #1 H-1B visa employer in a number of different counties throughout the state of Florida. Duval, Broward, Pinellas. Let's see, where else? Okay, so that's it. But they also have, even if they're not the #1 employer, they have a presence in many of these other counties. Now, in Flagler County, where we live, we're the 34th out of 50. Oh, no, I'm sorry, out of 68. And so if you live in Florida or you live in any other state in the union, you can drill this down and you can go take a look. So we'll go to Flagler County because that's where I said we live, and I can tell you about the numbers there. Now, the #1 H-1B employer in my area is at Memorial Hospital in Flagler. And then the next is Sound Physicians. After that, it's Florida Hospital Healthcare Partners, and then 2 more medical areas. But we can take out the state of Florida as a drill down and just go to Flagler County, and then I'll take a look. Let me just pull up. And I don't want to do all states. I want to do just Florida, okay? And then employers right here. All right. And then you can look at it, and you can see what other details they might provide. Now, why is this something that would help with investigations into H-1B visa fraud? Well, you can take a look at the names of all of the companies that are bringing in H-1B visa holders, and you might find that these businesses simply don't exist. Maybe you know one of these companies. You know, hey, I've seen that sign before. That's a sign that is on a warehouse in the middle of nowhere, and I never see anybody coming or going. And so you could do your own investigation. We'll be doing this ourselves here and seeing what we can find in our local areas. It'll also tell you what types of jobs they're bringing in: software developers, computer programmers, IT managers, database administrators, data scientists, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a really great tool for you to go ahead and look into this stuff and find information that you could potentially use to identify fraudulent H-1B employers in your area. I'm going ahead and passing this link out in all the chats right now. Boom, there we go. And then one final one over here on Pilled. Okay, now let's talk about the crackdown on H-1B visas. This investigation is a big one, and it's coming again from the U.S. Department of Labor, the Office of the Inspector General. And this is not just an investigation into fake H-1B visas. This is an investigation into human trafficking by some of the larger H-1B importers. And J.D. Vance also, in a brief statement that he made earlier today, said that their intention is to stop this H-1B fraud and specifically protect American workers who are being shut out of the market. Lately, I've been seeing a ton of major U.S. companies who are all now strangely run by Indians who have emigrated to the United States. These companies are firing thousands of American workers, and then at the same time, they're applying for thousands of H-1B visas to replace those American workers, often at a much lower rate. Now, depending on the visa, the employer might actually be able to pay more for a visa holder than they would for an American, and save money at the same time because they may not have to pay the same federal taxes. So the U.S. Department of Labor, Office of Inspector General, launched a major investigation and is intensifying efforts to combat fraud and human trafficking in the H-1B and Program Electronica Review Management Systems. Working alongside federal law enforcement officers and President Trump and J.D. Vance and the task force, the OIG has uncovered widespread schemes in which employers and labor brokers, those are the middlemen on that website I showed you, and labor brokers submitted fraudulent applications, exploited foreign workers through coercive wage kickback arrangements, and undercut American workers by flooding the market with below-wage labor. These abuses undermine the integrity of Department of Labor programs designed to address genuine labor shortages, not to line the pockets of bad actors at the expense of American jobs. This investigation reflects the OIG's unwavering commitment to dismantle human trafficking and forced labor networks that exploit the foreign guest worker visa system. The OIG is determined to root out every scheme that preys on vulnerable workers and takes jobs from Americans. My team, in conjunction with President Trump and Vice President Vance's task force, has relentlessly worked to uncover fraud, safeguard taxpayer dollars, and hold bad actors accountable. For far too long, fraudsters believed they could game the U.S. employment-based visa system and get away with it. They were wrong, Anthony D'Esposito, the Inspector General at the U.S. Department of Labor, has said. This isn't just paperwork fraud. It's the exploitation of vulnerable workers, forced labor, the displacement of American workers, and abusive human trafficking. As the Inspector General, my top priorities are exposing fraud, protecting American workers, and putting criminals in cuffs. So, to safeguard workers and strengthen H-1B and PERM program integrity, the OIG is launching this nationwide awareness initiative, encouraging U.S. workers who believe they have been displaced or harmed by potential H-1B or PERM fraud or related industry practices, and foreign workers who believe they have experienced exploitation, coercion, benching, or fraudulent recruitment practices, and any workers who believe they were compelled against their will to provide labor or services through force, fraud, or coercion, to report concerns confidentially or directly. So if you're among any of those groups of people, or you believe that you found H-1B fraud going on at a company in your area, you can make that call to the U.S. Department of Labor OIG hotline. Protecting workers and enforcing the law is central to the OIG mission. The department urges anyone with information, including evidence of falsified immigrant or non-immigrant employment-based visa apps, wage kickbacks, benching, fraudulent recruitment practices, visa program abuse, all of that, please come forward immediately. Cash rewards or other benefits may be available for information that assists the OIG or the U.S. government with timely prosecution against individuals and companies who are committing fraud against the Department of Labor visa programs. And, of course, they have other information, and D'Esposito is doing interviews about this as well. And he did appear with Maria Bartiromo. Now, one of the companies that they are looking at for charges of human trafficking is an IT company known as Cognizant. Cognizant was founded in India and has long been essentially a massive pipeline of Indians being brought into the United States. And, of course, not only does that take jobs from Americans, but it also exploits the people that are trying to get out of India and who oftentimes feel that they have no recourse. They can't do anything about it. And if they are forced to work for free, then they are forced to work for free. Let's hear it.
Without a doubt, and we are going to take an aggressive action, what we believe is probably the most aggressive action against foreign labor fraud by an Inspector General of this administration. We've already started to issue dozens of subpoenas. We are going to make sure that we track down every lead. We have whistleblowers talking about some of the biggest companies like Cognizant who have been in chatter of issues with PERM and H-1B visas, and we are going to work side by side with the President and Vice President's fraud task force to exhaust every lead. I'm going to take this exactly like I did when I was an NYPD detective, and I'm going to give and make sure my investigators and auditors have every resource necessary in order to conduct this investigation for the American people. And quite frankly, the fraud task Fraud Task Force has been very clear. Vice President Vance has said there's no fraud too small, there's no fraud too large. And this is another example where fraud is fueling violent crime. Much of the visa and the human trafficking that we see when it comes to this foreign labor is tied to cartels, is tied to transnational gangs. And this is the work that we should be doing, not only to make America safe again, but to make America more affordable again.
Wow, that's just...
Yeah, make America more affordable, make America prosperous, keep America beautiful. Now, continuing with this, Layoff Hedge also made this post specifically about Cognizant. I see that someone in the chat said that they worked with Cognizant, not by choice. Considering the fact that they're like the largest IT company around, I would be surprised if many people in the chat did not work with Cognizant over the years. But Cognizant H-1B visa fraud linked to human trafficking. Trump administration has launched its first major H-1B fraud investigation. As of this morning, Inspector General Louis Anthony D'Esposito named Cognizant while discussing this. So subpoenas have already been sent out, but more importantly, they already have whistleblowers. The evidence that they have on hand to even begin an investigation like this is probably overwhelming. And they also ask, I wonder how Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds feels about selling out 192 state IT workers so that she could hire Cognizant. This is a major dust-up that's been breaking over the last couple of weeks. The state of Iowa quite literally fired native Iowans and then we're preparing to replace them with workers from Cognizant. D'Esposito says the fraud is fueling violent crime and these ties back to the cartels and transnational gangs. Keep that in mind. We're going there next. The probe is covering the H-1B and the PERM programs, labor trafficking, and displacement of American workers. Now, Cognizant already has a ugly record for this. In 2024, a federal grand jury found that Cognizant was intentionally discriminating against non-South Asian employees so that they could favor hiring H-1B visa holders, especially in layoffs. This is something that I reported on at the time. In March, there was a federal grand jury in New York that awarded $8.4 million to former Cognizant executive Jean-Claude Franchitti for retaliation after he complained about the company's H-1B staffing practices. His False Claims Act suit alleged that he was made to sign fraudulent visa invitation letters for jobs that did not exist. This case is now before the Third Circuit. The company has also paid out over $25 million to the SEC over bribes in India. So Cognizant right now is the number 3 H-1B sponsor, according to the records that you can find at Layoff Hedge and in LCA filings. They have had 152,483 H-1B visa filings since fiscal year 2015, and the median wage is $90,709. If I made $90,000 a year, I think most people, if they made $90,000 a year, they would not want for anything. At least everything that you needed would be taken care of. Now, take a look at this. Who is the leadership team at Cognizant? Oh, well, wouldn't you know it? It's a bunch of Indians. Now, I've got nothing against Indians specifically, but it seems undeniable that there is an invasion from India coming to the United States of America. They are quite literally taking over corporate America. And every single time they get into a position of leadership in an American company, they are firing American workers and then they are farming out the labor to H-1B visa holders. This is a massive problem. If it wasn't India, it would be somebody else. They're just smarter than other nations who have been able to do this. Now, right here, Governor Kim Reynolds of Iowa posted on June 10th, just about a month ago, the state of Iowa and Cognizant have been fully committed from the onset to employing an Iowa-based workforce throughout the duration of our engagement. At no point during our negotiations was it even considered to employ H-1B visa holders. The state's daily IT operations will continue to be supported by Iowans for Iowans as they are now. Now, the reason she was forced to post this is because there was such a massive outcry from people who were loyal employees to the state of Iowa, and then we're going to lose their jobs as a result of it. Again, I highly suggest you follow Layoff Hedge, and they are at Layoff AI. This is real-time tracking of the H-1B visa issue. They also talk about other visa fraud issues. But going back to what Desposito said about gangs, international gangs, there was just a huge bust in California. This is called Operation Hardball. There was a sprawling global web of Indian gangsters that just got targeted in this massive federal takedown. They were using California basically as a cash register to rake in millions of dollars using a whole host of different criminal schemes: extortion, contract killings, gun and drug trafficking, and probably a whole lot more. I had no idea that we had an issue in the United States of America with organized crime coming out of India. But local and federal officials yesterday arrested 11 accused members of this transnational India-based gang and their affiliates in California as part of Operation Hardball. You can see here one of these men is being removed as federal officials come to what is, for all intents and purposes, a beautiful home in a really nice neighborhood. Now, this was in Stockton, California, and you can see here from Operation Hardball, the vast majority of the people on the sheet have all been wrapped up. There's only a handful of people which have not been arrested. 11 accused members of this transnational India-based gang and their affiliates were busted yesterday in California. The top prosecutor, a guy I have a lot of respect for, Bill Asaley, the blue one, babe. Thank you. Love you. Bill Asaley described the gangs as the most powerful gangs you've never heard of. Allegedly, they've been reaping in millions of dollars in illegal profits from these drug deals, from extortion, from weapon sales, from theft. And I got to say, there's probably a reason why they've been so successful. Most people, if you think about organized criminal activity, India just doesn't occur to you. I mean, quite often with India, you think about visa holders, you might think about doctors, you might think about IT specialists. You also might think about some of the other less savory things that happen in places in India where poverty is endemic, but you certainly don't think about organized crime. India tends to be fairly corrupt when you get down to it. I mean, certainly corrupt in the exact same way that we see here in the United States. Lots of payoffs, certainly lots of prejudice, and even it wouldn't be racism because it's the caste system. But, depending on where you're at in the caste system, you will be treated as such. Now, Bill Asaley said, yes, you also think about fake doctors. You also think about diploma mills. And here's the thing. I mean, just like anybody, just like any nation, there are good people and bad people. Just because somebody's coming from India doesn't mean that they're going to be a scammer. Doesn't mean that they're going to be a fake doctor or that they're part of a gang. But you've got people that are engaging in this behavior in every single country around the world. It is ridiculous to think that you could look at a single nation and make a value judgment about every single person there. Oh, I knew an Indian person. He's a cool guy. I've got a friend. He's originally from India. He's a totally cool guy. He's totally based. Okay. But I've also met people from India who are not great people. And doesn't matter what country you go into, you're going to find the exact same thing. These criminal organizations have engaged in widespread violence, including targeted killings, extortions, and kidnappings. And they have flooded communities around the country with massive quantities of cocaine and methamphetamine. Now, if we take a look here, we can see that court documents in this case have exposed the grip that these India-based organized crime syndicates have on California, even with their bosses operating from jail cells thousands of miles away. I guess that they have these people, the bosses of the gangs are locked up in India, and somehow they're still able to communicate. I mean, let's be honest. You've got what's called a jail purse, I think they call it. If you can stick it up your butt, you can get it into prison. The gangs allegedly reaped millions of dollars in illegal profits from drug deals, extortion, weapon sales, and theft. Take a look at all of that cocaine and methamphetamine. That's a lot of money. More than 2,200 pounds of cocaine and heroin, $40,000 in cash, and dozens of firearms. Now, The gang is called the Bishnoi Gang. They were founded by a guy named Lawrence Bishnoi. He remains locked up in an Indian prison, and they would use WhatsApp to direct the movements of hundreds of pounds of drugs across California and the extortion of victims in L.A. and Thousand Oaks. Using contraband cell phones and other devices smuggled into his jail cell, defendant Bishnoi personally directed political assassinations, murders, shootings, extortions, kidnappings, drug trafficking, human smuggling, and plenty of other crimes. I just want to go ahead and go to the regular view here so that I can see, because I know that Bill Asaley had posted about this, but he basically, there we go. There's another, oh my God. I hate these ads. Okay, look at that. That's in New Jersey right there. That is a lot of drugs. Okay, and here we go. Okay, so the gang is accused of stealing about 1,150 pounds of coke from rival gangs that were dealing drugs in the greater LA area between March of 2024 and July of 2025. Bishnoi would use his California underlings to do the dirty work in that state. Here they are being arrested in Stockton, and there is another gentleman stepping out during that stock raid. One of the lieutenants of Bishnoi, Rajan Bhatti, is accused of using terrifying threats in an attempt to extort $200,000 from an undercover federal officer posing as a wealthy expat living in Los Angeles. "We're going to cause harm to you," Bhatti allegedly said. "Your kids, your family, everyone. It doesn't matter to me if I kill someone. That's what I do." Members of another India-based crime outfit, the Bhagwanpuria gang, led by another imprisoned Indian mastermind, Jagu Bhagwanpuria, who is 38, are also accused of ruthlessly exploiting their connections to extort victims. Now, Bhagwanpuria gang member Gurlal Singh, 22, of Stockton, allegedly conspired with a corrupt cop in India's Punjab state to falsely accuse their victims of murder and then extort them over that pending case. That's dirty, doing people real dirty. Another member of the Bhagwanpuria gang, Gurdev Singh, who's 26, is alleged to have had attempted to extort a family while he was being held in ICE custody using smuggled communication devices to threaten to put bullets in your kids. Bhagwanpuria himself personally directed the transportation and distribution of large amounts of cocaine within California from his jail cell, again in India. Federal prosecutors also charged British Columbia resident Ravinder Singh Danda, 57, with smuggling hundreds of pounds of cocaine and methamphetamine each week from the U.S. into Canada. Danda's gang used semi-trucks and farm trucks to move the drugs from Los Angeles, West Covina, Ontario, Fontana, and Paris into the U.S.-Canada border. This is Justin Guzman of El Monte. He was arrested as well on Tuesday. He is a Danda drug trafficker, and he was arrested at the metro station where he's got a day job. Guzman is accused in a federal charging document of smuggling more than 150 pounds of coke for the gang. Accused members were also arrested in L.A., Fresno, Sacramento, Stockton, San Jose, and a host of other cities during yesterday's takedown in California. 23 search warrants were executed in the Sacramento area, and 19 of them were served in Los Angeles alone. These are people who used L.A. as a kind of crossroads of their criminal enterprise, whether it's drugs, extortion, murder, or any number of other things. Now, authorities said on Tuesday they conducted at least 50 raids, not only here in the United States, but also in Canada, also in Europe, and there were other suspects arrested in Indiana and Georgia, along with 3 in Canada and then 1 in Spain. As part of the investigation, law enforcement seized that 2,200 pounds of coke and heroin, $40,000 in cash, and dozens of firearms. And authorities are also still hunting 7 fugitives here, 2 in India, and then 1 in Europe. My God. This is just a staggering amount of criminal activity, and they are a rather small aspect of it. on the whole. I am immediately struck by the fact that these are Indians, and you seem to have gotten a lot of information about the same exact type of criminal activity happening among the Indian community up in Canada. I think that there are like 2 million Indians that have recently gotten citizenship in Canada, and there are currently efforts by the Indian government to continue this outflow of Indian nationals into the United States and into Canada. And this is not good. This is not good at all. Not only are the people that are coming here doing criminal activity, but the people who aren't doing criminal activity are just taking jobs from Americans. I have said this before. I'm going to say it again. I love people who want to come to America and who want to make this their home and who want to assimilate, but we're full. We've got too many people here. We need to shut down immigration altogether. Now, we've heard in the Indian community, they're doing human trafficking. In the H-1B corporate community, they're doing human trafficking. In the Chinese immigrant community, they're also doing human trafficking. This is a major sex ring that was busted down here in Florida in Miami-Dade County. 12 Chinese nationals were arrested where police found these women were allegedly performing happy endings, if you know what I mean, for additional payments at massage parlors. Now, I have never been to one of these Chinese massage parlors, and I actually, when I worked at Verizon years ago, there was a guy who was married with a kid who would frequently talk about a massage parlor that he would visit on the regular, specifically for the happy endings. And I'm not going to get any more specific than that. But it was a whorehouse, basically. And I was like, how do you live with yourself? Like, how do you go home at night after you do that and then kiss your wife? Like, that's just so messed up, dude. Not to mention, these are the women given the happy endings. You know, I mean, I guess that somebody who wants to go spend money at a whorehouse, maybe they're not thinking with a higher level of their brain, or maybe it's just because I've never paid for a hooker. But I mean, I just can't imagine doing this. I can't imagine paying any of these women, especially when you're married. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. Now, the other sad aspect of this is that I don't know if any of these women were coerced to come here, but they're all now charged with prosecution, and apparently they were practicing healthcare without a license. I guess maybe because they were doing massages and they were not certified massage therapists. Oh my God. What? Somebody just posted a link to a YouTube video which said that it was a happy ending. But yes, so anyways, there's a lot more that needs to be said about this. But I can only imagine that not only are people willingly coming to the United States of America to debase themselves, but there are also people who are being forced to come here to debase themselves. And I hope that this investigation goes a little bit deeper than just some women allowing men to pay them for happy endings, because I believe that it must be deeper than that. These women didn't all just wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to go to America. I'm going to go to Miami-Dade, and I'm going to set up a massage parlor. I mean, you've got, 12 of them? There was a larger plan at play here. I hope that they continue to look into it. Also, this is another account that I would suggest following. At Chief Engineer CE, he is an engineer and posts on a variety of things, including, obviously, America. He's a U.S. Navy vet. He is also an inventor. But he says if you have a colleague here on a visa who clearly cannot do their job, you can report that anonymously. They are here on the promise that employers could not find qualified Americans. Part of that qualification is the ability to communicate effectively and perform the work at the required level. Do they speak English? Are they even competent in what it is that they were hired to do? I mean, think about how many fake diploma mills have sent people here with credentials that are completely worthless. That could equate to a person receiving substandard medical care. That could end up with somebody at a corporate IT job allowing for a breach of a company server and the sale or theft of confidential information, which, you know, people in the American public, that could be you. So he says, part of that qualification is that they must communicate effectively and perform their work. Your company's bottom line might be in jeopardy if you do not report them. You can report this safely and anonymously at the USCIS tip form website, at the Department of Labor, the Foreign Labor Certification issues, at the Department of Labor Wage and Hour Division. This is not about nationality. This is about competence. If someone cannot do the job that they were sponsored for, they should not be in that role. So again, I would urge you, in the same way I urge you to tell me if you get your hands on one of these illegal alien trucks that have to be left because they get deported. Again, congratulations to Cyrus. If you are successful in reporting somebody who is committing some type of H-1B fraud or some type of fraud because they should not be in the position that they're in, then I want to hear about it, because I want to be able to talk about it on air, and I want to obviously congratulate you. But I'm going to go ahead and just once again say follow at Chief Engineer CE. But remember, you've got options on how to report these people. And if somebody is here not doing a job competently, then I think we should help them go back home. Now, we're going to transition from that. However, this is a series of videos from a guy that I find to be hilarious. He basically has this shtick. I don't even know who he is. I've just seen his videos all over Twitter. He will go into a gas station or up to an ATM, and he has all of these props, and it makes it look like he's doing something illegal or something that he shouldn't, but it's all just fake. And people freak out. And it sounds like, you know, in this video, you've got several of these people who might be H-1B visa holders.
It's going to get something. Error?
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
I had a bad experience. What is this? The holding for the one soda? I don't know. What is this?
It's just a...
No, sir.
What's the year, make, and model of this device?
I don't know.
This is my proton pack.
He's got a proton pack from Ghostbusters.
Card. The damage has been done. I have a welcome screen. I've actually never seen that before. What are you doing? You're calling the cop? Hey. This is my wallet. Just
brother, you gotta have it.
Huh?
You gotta have it, then no problem. I pay.
Oh no, it's okay. I just gotta connect this to my wallet.
It's so funny. It's so funny. There's another one where he's standing at an ATM, and he's got like a laptop that's sitting up on it, and it's just making all of these like scary, diabolical noises. And the guy behind the counter comes out and he's like, "What are you doing?" He was like, "I don't think you should be here." And he was like, "No, I've been doing this for the last 15 years. Oh, I'm looking for that one because it's really good. Oh man, where is it? I'm on my bookmarks, and I feel like I am way past where I should be to get to it. I've had so many bookmarks. Ah, here it is. Here it is. This is the same guy. And hold on, discard. Let me copy. Okay. This is so good. Oh, man. Playing malicious sounds while using an ATM.
Can I ask you what are you doing? Nothing. Just getting some money. You guys good?
Yeah, are you good with the cable and everything? This is not how it works.
Yeah, it is. I've been doing this for 10 years.
What do you mean?
Nothing.
He's got a motherboard. Just a bunch of random wires in a briefcase. And the dude's like, something's not right here. Oh my God. Oh, it's so funny. Let me say thank you to Snowcat Operator for gifting a subscription to KYZ Rumble. Appreciate you, homie. Family Man, thank you so much, has gifted 5 subscriptions to the one and only Captain Brad Fry, CKLR, WM Swords, JW329, and Free Constitutionalist Citizen. Congratulations, you guys. Also, Principal Enigma says it does mean, however, you probably won't understand them, even though they're allegedly speaking English. Well, hey, you know what? If you make the call and it turns out that they're actually doing their job well, you know, due diligence. That's how I see it. But go ahead and make the call, guys. All right. Now, take a look at this. This is interesting here. From American Accountability, it would appear that John Thune has taken $1.58 million from the illegal labor lobby. These are the same people that appear to be pushing for amnesty. And it could be one of the main reasons why he is refusing to bring the SAVE Act to the floor, especially under reconciliation, which again would allow them to pass it with just a simple majority in 51 votes. This website where you can find information about John Thune and the money trail surrounding him is at firethune.com. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. John Thune could force the SAVE Act to the floor. $1,580,276 explains why he won't. The Senate Majority Leader has taken this money over his career from the 4 industries that run on cheap foreign and illegal labor. For 2 years, he's told the base he supports the SAVE Act, and he has never forced the fight. No one in the Senate has more power than John Thune to force the SAVE Act to the floor. No one has more reason not to. We've had the ability to pass this act for many, many months, and John Thune appears to have zero desire to make it happen. So where is that money coming from? You've got $518,900 from the agriculture industry, $487,000 from the construction industry, $402,876 from the hospitality industry, and $171,500 from the elder care industry. All of these industries are major, major employers of cheap foreign labor. These are industries that are not neutral on immigration. They are the financial engine behind Salazar's The Dignity Act. That's that mass legalization bill the people are saying are for those who have earned their legal status. Now, if they have earned their legal status, then apply for it. There is a process that already exists. Simply because you've been living here illegally in the United States of America and doing something other than sitting on your ass or collecting a welfare check, but, well, who knows? Maybe they have been collecting welfare checks. Simply because you have been present in a country that is not yours by birth does not give you the right to gain status and make you legal. So you can go through and see all of the money by years, exactly where it's coming from, and it dives deep into John Thune's money trail. The Mass Deportation Coalition and the American Accountability Foundation are behind this website. And I believe that they're going to continue looking into the various reasons why John Thune refuses to do what's necessary. Now, also, thank you very much to Sean Joe for the cookie. Thank you to One Thunder for the can. Thank you to Sean Joe for another cookie. Thank you to M the Painter, who with another cookie says, yes, my good customer is Indian, nice guy. However, the average IQ in India is 85 and 56% of the people are forced to poop in the street. All of these things are true. You know, I mean, I wouldn't want to live in India. I wouldn't want to visit India. I'm sure that there's nice people in India, but I know that there are a lot of scammers and a lot of bad people in India. It's inevitable. Mighty Patriot with the phone says, we really need American kids becoming doctors and nurses. I'm so sick of the doctors and nurses, I can't understand a word they say. I am right there with you. And yes, unfortunately, we have a segment of America that are being pushed out of certain industries because of all of that cheap foreign labor that's coming here. All right. Now, I need to show you guys that a place in Texas has been caught red-handed advertising birth tourism packages in Mexico. This is undoubtedly an effort, a grift, to convince foreigners to come to the United States, have babies, and get those babies the American status that they so desire. Because of these billboards being placed in Mexico just on the other side of the Texas border, Governor Greg Abbott has ordered an investigation. Now, this is the original billboard, which is in Spanish, and here it is translated. Birth packages in South Texas. You can give birth naturally for $3,950. That's a lot better than they would charge an American for having a baby in an American hospital. You could also give a C-section. That's $5,525. So this is a South Texas hospital. You even have a website, HaveMyBabyInTexas.com. Mission Regional Hospital. The hospital in South Texas is under fire for trying to profit from birthright citizenship. Now, the Mission Regional Hospital Center has been caught red-handed advertising these birth packages in these billboards in Mexico. And the purpose is obvious, convincing foreign nationals to give birth across the border so then their babies are given U.S. citizenship. The hospital promoted these deliveries, natural birth at $39.50, C-section for $55.25, and directed viewers to the website I mentioned, HaveMyBabyInTexas.com. The website is now down after outcry from Americans. Moreover, the billboards are displayed with a telephone number beginning 001. This is the country code used to place calls into the United States from Mexico. Michigan Regional Medical Center later claimed this was all a misunderstanding, and they are now claiming that they are no longer going to be doing this. The marketing materials regarding maternity services are no longer in use due to any unintended misunderstanding. Bullshit. How could this be a misunderstanding? They were advertising foreigners to come into the United States of America and pay to have babies in the United States. Everybody knows what anchor babies are. Everybody knows that if you are a foreign national and you come to the United States and you drop a dirt baby on the other side of the border, you're automatically going to have an American citizen child. And that kid doesn't have to be raised in the U.S., but they'll get all of the benefits of being a United States citizen. So there is no misunderstanding. This hospital was undeniably looking to exploit the problems, the loopholes we have in the American immigration system. They did continue and say, we do not support or facilitate any unlawful activity and work to comply with all applicable federal and state laws and regulations. You actually were looking to, you were looking to make money off of birth tourism. That's exactly the definition of birth tourism. And Governor Greg Abbott is not going to let them get off lightly. So he's ordered an investigation into the hospital and their alleged unlawful activities. Birth tourism is an illegal practice that exploits the extraordinary hospitality the United States and Texas offers to millions of foreign travelers each year, Abbott wrote yesterday. Unfortunately, thousands of foreign travelers come to the U.S. under false pretenses to give birth and secure citizenship. He directed HHSC to immediately and thoroughly investigate this hospital. He said any violations should be referred to the Texas Attorney General for civil enforcement and to the appropriate district or county attorney for potential criminal prosecution. It should probably be pretty easy. I would imagine that this hospital has been doing this for years. They're going to have records of every single transaction that they've ever done. They're going to have a file on the mothers. They're going to have a file on the babies. This is going to be a slam dunk if the new Texas Attorney General wants to take these people to court and put them in prison. I hope they do. American citizenship is not for sale. Only it is. And Texas will not permit our healthcare system to be used as a magnet for birth tourism. Now, the governor also said he has plans to work with the Texas legislature during their next session to strengthen state law and eliminate birth tourism in Texas. This could be taken care of in one fell swoop. They could make it all of the things that we've talked about. I mean, if you're visiting Texas or any other state from another country, As part of your entrance to come in, you must sign a document waiving all rights or claims to citizenship for a baby if it happens to be born there. And there you go, problem solved. So the whole situation could have been avoided, of course, if the U.S. Supreme Court had done the right thing and stopped birthright citizenship for good. But they obviously cared more about the political implications. It is really sad. Candylicious says, "Dank you Ford crawling ad." Okay, hold on. I'm going to have to decode this one, Candy. Dank you Ford crawling ad and coworker reversed vasectomy to make an anchor baby. Hope he fails. Okay, so one of your coworkers reversed their vasectomy to make an anchor baby. That's messed up. That's really messed up. Yeah, and vasectomy is not comfortable in the first place. Getting a vasectomy reversed is also not comfortable, and as you say, it may not be successful. So thank you, Candy. Also, thank you to Principal Enigma, who says, "It's funny in Short Circuit, but not on the other end of a customer service call." Yeah. That was a good movie. I used to love that when I was a kid. All right, real quick, before we continue, I have a brief message from our friends over on Rumble. Do me a favor, hit that like button or hit the thumbs up or the red pill or the heart or whatever it might be. I would really, really appreciate it. All right, you guys, I know you hear a lot about crypto. There's a big part that most people miss, and that is the fact that crypto was created so that you actually own and control your own money. Go back to the 2008 financial crisis. The reason Bitcoin was created was because they wanted to make an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding onto your money, delaying transfers, limiting access to your funds, or filing suspicious activity reports because you're taking out too much, you are left in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you have felt the problem directly. I have myself. When I tried to buy a car many years ago just to get a down payment, the bank would not allow me to take the money out because they said it was too much. Well, now you can fast forward to today, and everybody has heard about crypto, but getting started might feel a little bit complicated. This is why I love and use the Rumble Wallet. It takes all that complexity out of it. It makes it very simple. You can choose what you want to work with, whether it's good old Bitcoin, dollar-backed stable coins, or even digital gold that's backed by real gold. It's not complicated to set up. It connects directly to MoonPay, so then you can use your credit card, your debit card, your bank card, and you're up and running in just a couple of minutes. And, of course, once you're set up, you can even then support your favorite creators on Rumble, whether it's myself or somebody else. So you can do this right now. You can use that QR code that you see on screen. You scan it with your phone, and then it'll take you to download it, or you can click the link in the Rumble chat and then download the Rumble wallet, or you can just head directly to wallet.rumble.com. Once you get your wallet set up, you tap buy, and you're in the game. And then in just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. Thank you so much to Rumble, and thank you to everybody who supports the show in whatever form you do. All right, now, moving on from there, we need to do a proof of life check on good old Mitch the Turtle. That's right, Mitch McConnell. The meme of Mitch McConnell being dead, brain dead, on life support, or maybe 6 feet under, has now officially reached the governor's mansion in Kentucky. That's right, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear earlier today sent a letter to Mitch McConnell requesting proof of life. The governor wants an update on his health amid the many weeks that he has allegedly been getting better in the hospital. Senator Mitch McConnell has allegedly been in the hospital since June 14th after that cardiac arrest in his home. 84-year-old Senator of Mitch McConnell from Kentucky was reportedly found unconscious in his D.C. home last month before he was hospitalized. And it didn't take long for rumors to start circulating that Mitch McConnell was either in some form of a vegetative state or dead and never coming back. Now, of course, many have begun to look into this as the rumors persist. GOP Senator Barrasso and GOP Senator Thune both said they spoke with Mitch McConnell on Tuesday. Both of their announcements seemed to be written by the same PR firm. Then, of course, CNN contributor Scott Jennings also claims to have spoken with Mitch McConnell over the phone. Scott Jennings is a unique character because he used to be a congressional aide to Mitch McConnell. Now, last night, Scott Jennings appeared on his CNN hosting gig, And one of the other panelists asked if he could get Mitch McConnell to call into the show tonight. Now, Jennings kind of laughed it off and said all of the same things that he said earlier today, that Mitch was sharp. He's doing great. He's getting better. We talked about foreign policy. We talked about Ukraine. He even went into, we talked about the legacy of the vice presidency because of Teddy Roosevelt. All of it sounded like bullshit. Nobody is buying it that Mitch McConnell is doing great and having 20-minute conversations. If you look at all of the 20-minute conversations Mitch McConnell allegedly had on the same day, there aren't enough hours in the day for Mitch to be talking that much, especially if he got CPR and had his chest compressed to get his heart re-pumping again. Elaine Chao has also returned from China. And she was asked why she didn't come home when her husband was hospitalized. She said, well, it just didn't seem like that big of a deal. Excuse me, ma'am, your husband was in full cardiac arrest alone in his home. He wasn't discovered for, I don't know, God knows how long. And he was in the hospital. That wasn't reason enough for you to come home. Well, that's what happens when you're not married to someone you love, when you're married to somebody that you're handling. Anyways, the public is in the dark, and the public wants to know what's up. But it's not just us. It's also the governor of Kentucky. So this is the letter. Over the last several weeks, Kentuckians have grown increasingly concerned about the health and well-being of Senator McConnell. As governor and a fellow public official who understands the commitment we've made to the people we serve, I am requesting the senator provide an update on his current health status. Allowing speculation to continue in the media is not fair to the senator or to Kentuckians. And my hope is that this provides him the opportunity to share the information in a transparent manner, direct from the source. I wish him a safe and speedy recovery, Bashir said. The request for an update comes after reports that McConnell was admitted to the hospital. Limited information has been shared from the senator's official office. We seem to have the same press release put out over and over and over again. The governor's administration has seen a rise in inquiries about the health status of the senator. Rather than contribute to the increased speculation unfolding in the media and the public space, Governor Beshear is reaching out directly to Senator McConnell to make that request. Now, as I have shown you, according to a 2024 law, the governor must call a special election to fill a vacant Senate seat. And the cutoff date for a special election is September 8th, not August 3rd. So that law, again, was only passed in 2024. If it was most other states, the governor himself would be able to appoint someone to fill Mitch McConnell's seat until the next regular election, which, of course, is only in November. But it looks like this has really moved through the Overton window when even the governor of Kentucky is demanding proof of life of Mitch McConnell. If there was ever anything that was going to force Mitch McConnell to come forward and say, hey, I'm really alive, I think that this would be it. Now, I'm sure the governor is very busy. I don't agree with his politics, but I would appreciate it if maybe he made a trip to D.C., made a special visit to Mitch in the hospital. You know, bring him some flowers, bring him some chocolates, or maybe bring him some turtle feed, whatever it might be. And I would hazard a guess and say that Governor Beshear would not be successful in reaching Mitch, because I don't think Mitch is in a position to be reached. So I'm just jumping over here to his timeline to see if he's put anything else out there. He has not. And somebody is asking Ted Cruz for proof of life. He's not responding. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that we need proof of life, but I don't think it's going to happen. I simply just do not believe that Mitch McConnell is alive. With the amount of scrutiny that's being placed on this subject, this would be the time to come forward and say, hey, I'm actually alive. But he isn't, so he can't. Thank you to Filter Dog, who says this is the most cogent version of Mitch yet. I agree with you. All right, guys, let's talk about Joe DiGenova. Joe DiGenova is an American hero. I cannot wait. He has apparently stumbled into a virtual hive of 2016 election interference information while investigating the Russiagate hoax. Now, I also think this is why we got movement this week on Seth Rich, because that same secret skiff where the alleged documents that have been revealed in the last year were kept also allegedly are related to Crossfire Hurricane, and now that is where apparently this Seth Rich information is coming from. So if you don't know Joe DiGenova, he hasn't been on Fox News for a couple of years, but he was for a long time during President Trump's first term. Now, he spent decades inside the web of federal law enforcement. During the Reagan era years, he was a U.S. attorney, and now he stepped back into that position, and he is the lead prosecutor in one of the most important investigations in U.S. history. Not only does he have the legal chops to actually take this case to where we need it to go, he was also a staunch supporter of President Trump during his first 4 years in office. He never stopped. He just stopped going on the airwaves. So Joe DiGenova is reported by NBC as a former Trump campaign lawyer who backed President Trump's efforts to overturn his 2020 election loss, heading to be a Florida-based federal investigator into former federal officials who investigated Trump. Joe DiGenova is 81 years old. He was the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia during the Reagan era, and he is leading this sprawling investigation targeting Trump's enemies, they say, reaching all the way back to a previous Justice Department inquiry into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. Well, when they brought Joe DiGenova into the Justice Department, they did that because of the size of this investigation. They needed somebody to take control of the massive, confusing, and chaotic investigation into the federal government itself, into the intelligence community, into politicians, and into a variety of federal agencies who all together and independently targeted President Trump. This is the overarching grand conspiracy that began as the Russia hoax. Now, early on, the investigation was moving slowly. It lacked direction, probably because of how big it was. But when Joe stepped in a couple of months ago, he basically brought all of these threads together and has taken the investigation much, much further than where it was before. But because he is leading the investigation, he's got the authority to follow the evidence no matter where it leads. And that is exactly what we need. So take note, it appears to be taking him someplace very, very interesting. So while he was investigating the Russiagate hoax, Joe DiGenova's team seems to have stumbled into a massive hive of foreign election interference. This involves Ukraine and the United Kingdom. Now, of course, I think many people have assumed that these two countries played a significant role in the fraud from the very beginning. I mean, certainly MI6 was involved in the creation of the Steele dossier. There was a large part of the Russiagate hoax that was run out of England. And, of course, the incoming CIA director at the time was heading up the CIA's mission in London at the exact same time that this whole thing was being crafted. Now, Ukraine obviously had some direct ties to the Biden regime and the Obama regime, and there was a ton of leaked stuff that has already come out talking about Ukraine's ties. And then, of course, don't forget about the tragedy of January 6th, that there were Azov battalion that were in the crowd. And, of course, in the same way that the CIA had a massive presence in London, Gina Haspel being the leader of that presence, the CIA also had a massive ongoing presence in the Ukraine in a variety of different theaters. Now, this tidbit was revealed first yesterday by Paul Sperry. Now, Paul Sperry said that, I'm told Special Prosecutor Joe DiGenova's team has obtained startling new evidence exposing 2016 election interference by non-Russian foreign entities, including Ukraine and the UK, And DiGenova has now onboarded a new federal investigator into his office to focus exclusively on Ukraine. This is obviously probably not earth-shattering news to many if you've been paying attention, but it is exciting for those of us who have been waiting for a movement to come forward on this case. And let's just take a look at something that you might expect. Who were the largest donators from foreign countries to the Clinton Foundation? Well, from 1999 to 2014, the number one donor by nationality was Ukraine with $10 million. The number two top foreign donor to the Clinton Foundation by nationality is the UK, England. Third largest was Saudi Arabia. Fourth largest was Germany, fifth, Ireland, sixth, India, and then seventh, Canada, and then it goes down much more. Argentina, UAE, China, Greece, Nigeria, Bosnia, France, and Sri Lanka. But Ukraine and England means that we have a direct financial tie to making sure that Hillary Clinton remains in power. And, of course, if Hillary Clinton would have become president in 2016, Ukraine, England, the old regime in Saudi Arabia, all of those places would have been rewarded handsomely. So Joe DiGenova went looking into this operation that was built around the accusations that it was actually President Trump who was colluding with the foreign government. Instead of finding evidence of Trump working with the Russians, he seems to have found the evidence that we know exists, pointing towards the real election interference that were by these two countries that were actually very, very unfriendly towards President Trump and his agenda. Now, keep in mind, Joe DiGenova wasn't handed some simple task with a tidy list of suspects. He was literally dropped into the command of a sprawling existing federal investigation reaching back for more than a decade and potentially involving some of the most powerful and evil people in the world. So, going to an article from Real Clear Politics dealing with Joe's history and where he's taken this investigation since coming on down in Florida. Since taking over the Justice Department's far-flung investigation in April, veteran prosecutor DiGenova and his team have quickly concluded that combining all of the alleged wrongdoing, which ranges from falsifying evidence and committing perjury to leaking classified information and obstructing justice, if they do have that combined into one unified plot and trying to bring it all together in a single case, it'll simply be unmanageable. A source within DiGenova's team said, "You're going to have 50 defendants in the courtroom. We're never going to get justice that way." So before DiGenova took over the information in April, the contours of this investigation seemed to be ill-defined as it was lurching ahead in fits and starts for more than a year. According to sources, DiGenova is tackling the case with a new discipline focus and in doing so, giving it the direction that it lacked. But this is a change in tactics. It is not, however, a change in theory of the case. Sources within his team say his operating assumption is that Trump's enemies in the 2016 Hillary Clinton campaign, the Obama and Biden administration, some Democrats in Congress, and their like-minded accomplices across several government agencies, which include, of course, the CIA and the FBI, all joined in one continuous conspiracy over almost a decade to deny Trump his civil rights, to derail his political campaigns, and to undermine his presidency. Where other investigations have looked at specific pieces of the effort Trump's defenders now call Russiagate after its original origins, DiGenova is launching the first holistic look at the entire scandal. A well-placed source says it's looking at events from June 2015 when Trump first came down the escalator at Trump Tower to announce his candidacy, all the way through the 2022 FBI raid at Mar-a-Lago after he left office. So now the investigation is not limited to reviewing old reports and public records. We've seen all that. We don't care about that. We want the stuff that we know happened in the background, but we haven't been told yet. Paul Sperry says DiGenova has already uncovered several new witnesses. We've reported on that. Several whistleblowers from inside the FBI and the intelligence community. We've reported on that. And these are people who reportedly understand how these key decisions were made that have not yet been divulged to the public. What information was hidden? Which officials knew more than they ever admitted publicly? And maybe where those secret skiffs were located in FBI and beyond. So this is an important change to the way this investigation is being handled. Instead of just viewing Crossfire Hurricane, the Mueller investigation, the attacks on Trump's associates, the Mar-a-Lago raid, instead of looking at them as just unrelated pieces of a puzzle, as we know they are not, Joe is connecting the dots and seeing exactly how they all fit together in one big puzzle. And that is a monumental undertaking. I cannot say that it isn't. But reports seem to indicate that Joe's team has put together the evidence, and these other investigators either missed it, ignored it, or never had access to it. So Joe is looking at things that these other people either intentionally did not look at or were never allowed to see. Speaking of that, the whistleblowers obviously is something that's very, very interesting. That's not the only new development. His team has also reportedly uncovered this large internal FBI document that was very informative and possibly quite damning. So these sources that Joe DiGenova has cultivated, along with these new witnesses that include the whistleblowers, both from the FBI and from the intelligence community, his team has also uncovered significant new evidence, which includes this massive FBI document spanning several hundred pages that reportedly exposes brand new and heretofore unexposed malfeasance in the Bureau's probe of President Trump's alleged ties to Russia. This was, of course, codenamed Crossfire Hurricane, began before the 2016 election. They note that Joe DiGenova traveled to D.C., he met with both Blanche and FBI Director Kash Patel to discuss this newly located internal FBI document and then map out the new investigative leads as well as the overall new case strategy. Now, I know that people find it hard to believe sometimes that this stuff can be hidden, but I'm here to tell you that it's actually not that difficult, especially with the size and the scale of the federal government. It's like almost things can be hidden in plain sight. All it takes is the misfiling of an important document with key evidence, putting it in the wrong file folder, failing to scan it in, leaving it in the drawer of somebody's desk, and then walking away. Things can be hidden very, very easily. So sometimes when it comes to breaking a case like this or putting it together, all it takes is that one key document. And the FBI records are now shaping and changing that next phase in the investigation. And it's Joe's team that is looking at just how these original allegations against Trump were cloaked in the legitimacy of the crimes of the people that were committing them. So that allowed all of these things, these narratives, these psyops to be pushed through the government, through the media, through Congress, and then into the Mueller investigation. Now, none of it was successful, but of course, all of it was damaging in one way or another, not only to the country, but also to President Trump and the people who supported him. By laundering the original dossier, the Steele report, the heart of the Russia collusion scheme, by laundering it through the U.S. intelligence community, the outgoing Obama administration was able to give it this gloss of credibility. No, the whole thing was fake. They put their stamp of approval on it, and that's why so many Americans got hoodwinked. By design, this false information then, of course, made its way to the media. Those people are corrupt, many of them probably also on the intelligence community payroll. And then, of course, that prompted Congress to open inquiries and then the DOJ to appoint Robert Mueller as special counsel, continue the investigation on a larger scale. And although he found nothing, the lie persisted. Sources, again, close to DiGenova say that they are examining whether Mueller's team engaged in prosecutorial abuses against Trump officials and associates. I would argue that they absolutely did. Now, of course, James Comey and John Brennan were subpoenaed earlier this year in this investigation. There, we're looking at their roles within the intelligence community and their roles in the inclusion of the ICA. They are both key targets in this conspiracy investigation. Both, of course, I should say, who have denied any wrongdoing and publicly, through their lawyers, have made statements regarding this. But now that Joe DiGenova is in command of this investigation and he's got his own budget, they are rapidly staffing up the office, hiring more people to expand and broaden this investigation. He now has a large team of deputy prosecutors, investigators, analysts, and researchers, and the DOJ has an entire division essentially devoted to just this investigation. So the Justice Department official who was speaking with Real Clear Investigations about this investigation said that the Florida team will not move forward with indictments without confidence that they can prevail in a court of law. This is something that I have said on many different occasions. They do not want to haphazardly or hastily bring forth an investigation so that they can bring everybody up and then rug pull them. They need to be 100% certain that these people are not only going to be indicted, but also prosecuted. We are not going to bring indictments just to make ourselves feel good, only to lose and give the bad guys another victory. It's a lot of work, but that's the way we're doing it. And I have to say I'm glad that they're doing it that way. For the last decade, we have watched these things basically get ripped out from underneath us. We have watched the bad guys prevail time and time again. We have watched people lose heart. We have watched people walk away. We have watched people blackpill because they believe that nothing is happening. I'm here to tell you, and I hope that you guys see this on the show every day, there are definitely things that are happening behind the scenes. There are indictments that are being brought. There is justice that is being brought for the American people. This is the big one. This is the golden goose that all of us have been waiting for all these years. And I truly believe that at the end of the day, they're going to make it happen. They're going to be successful, and it's going to be restorative to see these people go to jail. All we have to have is patience. That is all. All right. Now, speaking of patience, we have a major victory for Justin Heap in the Arizona fight with the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. So the Arizona Supreme Court yesterday delivered a crushing blow to the Maricopa Board of Supervisors when it ended a Court of Appeals stay and reinstated the Superior Court's injunctions with modifications that returns election administration responsibilities of the county's elections back to the county recorder, Justin Heap. This has been going on for quite some time, and it looks like potentially the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors might be able to usurp that power from Justin Heap. But the Arizona Supreme Court vacated the Court of Appeals stay from June. They reinstated it with modifications. The Superior Court injunctions governing the allocation of election administration responsibilities between Maricopa County Recorder and the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. If you don't know, the dispute concerns which county office has the authority to perform election duties that Arizona statutes assign to the county recorder or other officer in charge of elections. Well, the Maricopa County Recorder, Justin Heap, has argued that those duties belong with the recorder's office or to an officer designated by the recorder. Well, the Board of Supervisors are all totally corrupt, and they argued that its budget and administrative authority permitted it to assign those functions to a board-appointed elections director. Now, the county concluded the recorder is likely to prevail on the statutory interpretation issue, and relying on Arizona's precedent, the court explained that a county board of supervisors may not use its funding authority to assume or reassign statutory responsibilities that were entrusted to an independently elected county officer. In this instance, that is Heap. The court reaffirmed that the board has a non-discretionary duty to fund necessary expenses of the recorder and may not use their budgetary control to displace duties assigned by law to the recorder or an officer acting under the recorder's authority. Now, the court also addressed election timing concerns. The court recognized that courts should exercise caution before altering election procedures this close to an election, particularly when early voting for the 2026 primary is already underway, but it concluded that those officers and the concerns do not replace Arizona's stay analysis or determine which official has the legal authority under Arizona law. In order to minimize disruption, considering that voting has already begun, the court has reinstated the Superior Court's injunctions as modified by the recorder's 12-point interim operational protocol. Those temporary procedures are intended to preserve continuity in the ongoing primary election while the appeal proceeds, and the court stated that either party may seek further interim modifications. So this case originated from events that began back in October of 2024. Stephen Richer was the prior recorder. He entered into an agreement with the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors in an effort to essentially dethrone the power inherent within the office of the recorder. So he goes into this agreement that truthfully he had no authority to go into. That shifted certain election duties away from the recorder's office and gave it to the Board of Supervisors. The agreement, of course, was unanimous because they were all in on the grift. They were all equally as corrupt. And the appointment of a bipartisan board responsible for overseeing the early voting process was part of their arrangement. So the agreement also centralized election-related information technology functions, as well as the $5 million budget that was associated with IT. As previously reported, and I believe this is my good friend Brian... hold on just a second. I want to verify. Yeah, my good friend Brian Lupo. He does the best reporting at the Gateway Pundit. Okay, so the Superior Court judge had handed the recorder's office the victory and then redirected those authorities back to the recorder. That included direct custody and control of IT staff, their servers, their databases, software, websites, and equipment. And then the court enjoined the Board of Supervisors from exercising any other election functions delegated by the legislature to the recorder. And the Board of Supervisors this entire time has been trying to delegitimize the recorder and take all of the election powers away so that they can continue to steal elections going forward. If you'll remember, Justin Heap was elected by the people of Maricopa County with the express promise that he was going to stop election fraud in Maricopa. And now that the Board of Supervisors have lost, I think we're closer than ever before to making sure that that happens. Candylicious, that was my impersonation of AT&T customer service. Okay, now I get it. All right, and thank you to S2G109. Good to see you. She says, if naturalized citizens break their citizenship oath, it's perjury. You are correct. Their privilege of citizenship can be removed along with them out of the country, just like office holders and their oaths of office. So although in theory you are correct with the office holders, unfortunately what often happens is that those people are so connected and so corrupt that nothing happens to them. But yes, denaturalizations are on the rise more than any other administration in history for this issue right here when it comes to naturalized American citizens. This is another reason why if you find that somebody is doing something improper, the best thing you could do would be to report it to the federal government. Because if they are a naturalized citizen, they're committing crimes or they are doing something that otherwise devalues or goes against their oath, then they shouldn't be here anymore. We should be getting rid of them. All right. Now, also wonderful news in relation to election security. President Trump and Harmeet Dillon have just put several key Democrat states on notice, making them aware that they can be criminally prosecuted for allowing illegals to vote in the 2026 midterms. Now, these are obviously states that have refused to turn over their qualified voter files and all of their voter registration lists so that we can verify there are no illegals on there. So this was a form letter that was sent out from the Department of Justice to election officials in all states and, of course, in the District of Columbia. But the message and the language is clear. They are warning top state election leaders, including chief election officers. They face criminal prosecution if they knowingly keep non-citizens on the voter rolls, if they send them ballots, or count their votes in federal elections. Now, considering that for a long time now, Harmeet Dillon and the DOJ have been attempting to gain access to these voter rolls so that they can ensure that they are cleaned, and all of these states appear to not be cleaning these voter rolls. I believe that that means they are knowingly keeping non-citizens on the voter rolls. So I think that we're probably going to see a whole host of prosecutions if these people carry out the election as they apparently intend to do. So Harmeet Dillon and the Civil Rights Division are the ones who signed these letters. They cite multiple federal statutes, including the National Voter Registration Act, the Help America Vote Act, and a number of others that all require accurate voter rolls and prohibit non-citizens from voting in federal elections. So the department sent these letters to all 50 states and D.C., asking for voluntary compliance in a timely manner with their obligations under federal law to ensure only citizens vote in federal elections. The letters are pretty clear. They say that knowingly retaining non-citizens on statewide voter lists and allowing them to receive or cast ballots constitutes aiding and abetting violations that can then lead to criminal charges against election officials themselves. One letter obtained, addressed to the Hawaii Chief Election Officer Scott Nago, stated, state elections officers, including the chief election officer of the state, could be criminally prosecuted for aiding and abetting violations. So it also added that knowingly keeping these non-citizens on the rolls and counting their ballots would amount to the procurement, casting, or tabulation of ballots known to be false. States that received the letters reportedly included Michigan, Arizona, Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Oregon, and others, and some were just given 5 days to explain their compliance steps. So that's not a suggestion. It's a pretty clear warning shot across the bow to any election official who thinks that they can just look the other way and not clean up their voter rolls and allow these people to vote and participate in federal elections. Everybody knows there has been an ongoing effort by the Trump Civil Rights Division under Harmeet Dillon to aggressively pursue the maintenance of these election rolls. They have sued multiple states for failing to produce these rolls. Some states have complied. About half of them have complied. Quite a few others have refused. They have actually sued. And in some of these states, because the courts are controlled by judges that are obviously political and partisan, the federal government has lost. However, just because these judges have ruled that the states don't have to hand over their voter rolls, they obviously cannot rule that federal law does not have to be followed. So it is implicitly stated that every single one of these states has got to comply with federal law. And if they don't, then the only thing that the government can do is go after them personally. Now, in addition to that, the federal government and Harmeet Dillon at the Civil Rights Division have announced that they will be dispatching election monitors to 15 jurisdictions across 6 states for upcoming primaries. That would include Arizona, Michigan, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Hampshire, and Virginia. Let's go ahead and take a listen to the announcement from Harmeet.
In 2026, in this upcoming primary season, the United States Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, as it has done for decades, is this year sending election monitors into 15 different jurisdictions in 6 states. And those states are Arizona, Michigan, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Hampshire, and Virginia. And we're sending the monitors into cities and counties where there may have been some problems in the recent elections. And so this is something that DOJ does routinely. So for example, in 2022, in the primary season, there were 9 jurisdictions in which the prior administration sent election monitors during the primaries. In 2024, similarly, there were, in that election, 27 different jurisdictions monitored by the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. So this year, we're kind of in the middle of that with our 15. And what we hope to do here is increase voter confidence, make sure there are no language barriers or access to voting for Americans with disabilities, or sort of failure to make sure that the polling places are open correctly for the amount of time necessary, and that everyone has appropriate access to vote who should be allowed to vote. So this is an important goal that increases voter confidence, exercise of our oversight duty and our enforcement duty to enforce the Help America Vote Act, the National Voter Registration Act, the Voting Rights Act, a very important statute, and other civil rights statutes like the Civil Rights Act of 1960. So I'm proud to be helping organize this effort and send those monitors to help increase all citizens' confidence in the outcome of our elections. And stay tuned as we get towards the general election, where there'll be an even more expanded program for vote monitors, as DOJ has done for decades in our great nation. Thank you.
The Save America Act. Everybody wants it. Everybody is it, including Democrats. 87% of Democrats want it. Not the leaders, because they want to cheat. Their policy is so bad, they're unelectable.
All right. Now, I also have some really good news. President Trump has announced that he is asking for a rehearing with the U.S. Supreme Court on the birthright citizenship issue after this anchor baby hospital was discovered in Texas. He wrote on Truth Social, signs and billboards are being put up all over our southern border and Mexico advertising birthright citizenship, with deliveries starting at $4,000. Likewise, similar signs are going up all over our country. Billions of dollars will be illegally made by this scam, with citizenship going to anyone willing to pay. It will be by far the #1 way of becoming a citizen, and then the entire family will be allowed to follow. Not sustainable. Nobody saw this. Everybody saw this coming, POTUS, and you know it. American citizenship is not for sale. In fact, that is a crime, and therefore the Supreme Court's ruling is wrong. I will be asking for a rehearing by the U.S. Supreme Court immediately. This miscarriage of justice will destroy America if they don't change their absolutely insane decision. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. I have personally never heard of the government asking for a rehearing on an issue like this. This may have happened before, but I've never heard of it. So I don't really know what the process is, but I'm glad to hear that the administration is not sitting by. In the meantime, I would humbly suggest that Congress get off their fat, rich asses and start taking some action to do whatever they need to do to pass whatever law must be passed to ensure that this process is stopped, that loopholes are closed. There is obviously legislation that can be brought, as suggested by Kavanaugh, as we have talked about. We've given a whole bunch of ideas. If I was in Congress, I'd be doing this shit with my eyes closed. But of course, the people who are in Congress apparently are just not as interested in making sure that our country doesn't get destroyed as we, the people, are. So thank you, President Trump, for continuing that. Now, going back to the issue of illegal aliens voting in elections, we have a case in point right here. Homeland Security has just arrested an Australian woman. She was a lawful permanent resident in the United States of America. And guess what? She illegally voted in both 2022 and 2024 federal elections. She lied. She said she was an American citizen. Denise Natalie Migliore was not an American citizen. Again, she was a lawful permanent resident living in Louisiana. She was busted by Homeland Security investigations for illegally voting in 2 federal elections after claiming she was a citizen. She's 51 years old. She lived in Franklinton, Louisiana. She was originally from Sydney, Australia, and she was arrested on July 1st, right at the federal courthouse in New Orleans. She was indicted on June 11th in the Eastern District of Louisiana on a 4-count indictment, 2 counts of illegal voting in an election, and 2 counts of making false statements to register to vote. The DOJ's announcement said that according to the indictment, on or about October 6th, 2022, and on or about October 22nd, 2024, Migliore, at the time a legal permanent resident, knowingly made false claims of U.S. citizenship in order to register to vote in a federal election. I wonder who she voted for. On or about November 8th, 2022 and November 5th, 2024, Migliore cast a ballot, which she obtained by falsely certifying she was a U.S. citizen and therefore eligible to vote, when in fact she was not eligible to vote because she was not a citizen of the United States. If convicted, she faces a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release. Right now, she also faces a fine of up to $250,000 and a $100 mandatory special assessment fee. Now, this alien from Australia now faces federal charges for falsely claiming to be a citizen and illegally casting ballots in 2 elections. Her arrest and charges are the result of the hard work of the men and women of ICE law enforcement and our federal partners. Our message to aliens who vote in American elections is clear. We will find you, we will arrest you, and you will face the consequences, including criminal charges and, most importantly, deportation. Only Americans should be electing American leaders. Now, the Louisiana Secretary of State, Nancy Landry, credited the state's proactive use of the Federal Save database and her Election Integrity Division for helping flag this case in partnership with federal authorities. Oh, I should also mention Judge Sparkle Sakunian's order that this database could not be used has been overruled by another federal judge. That judge has made the right decision, and now that database is back in use all around the United States of America. Sparkles is the same judge who was just written up to be impeached by Abe Hamada. This case originated from information identified through Louisiana's use of the Federal Save database and the diligent work of our Election Integrity Division. This is a wonderful piece of evidence that can obviously be used in all of these cases that they're trying to bring to show that these people are actually voting. You're not supposed to be able to, but without the tools to identify them, the people actually, of course, are doing so. This sends a clear message that Louisiana takes election integrity seriously, and we need to continue using every available tool to ensure only eligible citizens participate in our elections. Obviously, this needs to be done everywhere, every single state in the nation. Patty Ninefingers says, I say President Trump needs to ban entry to any pregnant woman or fake woman. He has that authority. I agree with you. And, barring that, I've already said that one of the provisions of coming to the United States should be that as part of your visa, you waive any claim to U.S. citizenship if your child should happen to be born here. All right. Now, we're going to round out the show with a couple of cases of fraud that were just discovered and announced by the fraud division. Now, they are doing this new thing where they're making these excellent little videos talking about the fraud that they are discovering. First of all, a case from Wisconsin. Marquita Barnes owned a Wisconsin prenatal care company called Here For You. But it turns out she was only there for herself.
10 years in federal prison. That's where healthcare fraud took Marquita Barnes, pictured here walking out of court with her handsome Louis Vuitton purse. She owned the Milwaukee prenatal care company called Here For You, but she wasn't there for us. She was just convicted of orchestrating a massive Medicaid fraud scheme.
According to the evidence at trial, she billed for prenatal care and child care coordination services that weren't provided, paid illegal kickbacks, including cash, diapers, car seats, and baby supplies to recruit Medicaid patients, used others' identities to bill for totally fictitious client visits, laundered her fraud proceeds, and tried to obstruct the investigation of her crimes. The court ordered more than $2.3 million in restitution and sentenced her to over a decade behind bars. 2 other women were convicted of a similar scheme last year, and 3 more people have pleaded guilty to defrauding the same program in the last 6 months. In total, these frauds have cost Medicaid over $15 million. And here's why every family should care. That money was not supposed to fund fraud. It was meant to help high-risk pregnant women and new mothers get prenatal care, education, counseling, and support for healthier pregnancies and healthier babies. When someone steals from a program like that, they don't just rob taxpayers, they rob vulnerable mothers. They undermine trust in honest healthcare providers, and they give policymakers a reason to tighten or reduce programs that thousands of families legitimately depend on. Wisconsin has reduced parts of its prenatal care coordination program following widespread concerns about fraud in the industry. Whether you support more government health care or less, everyone should agree on this. Fraud makes good programs harder to defend.
Healthcare fraud isn't a paperwork mistake. It's a direct attack on patients and taxpayers and the future of programs designed to save.
Yes, it makes everybody look guilty, even if they're not. We also have a case of a doctor or a healthcare startup owner essentially dealing drugs through telemedicine. Now, do you guys remember in the last couple of years, we've talked about it on the show, but during the Biden administration, there was suddenly and strangely a shortage of Adderall for people who had prescriptions for Adderall. Well, it appears that one of the reasons there was a shortage of this Adderall medication available for people was because it was artificially restricted by the Biden administration. And then on top of that, there were many different telemedicine providers that were just handing out Adderall via Zoom as if it was candy. Now, the woman in this case, busted by the DOJ fraud division, is named Ruthie Ha. She was the founder of this digital startup, and they prescribed more than 40 million doses of Adderall through their online portal with basically no medical oversight. And she was a former executive at Meta, Facebook, and then Tencent as well. Tencent is the company that used to own TikTok.
Let's call this exactly what it is. Drug dealing, rebranded as telehealth. A federal jury just convicted the founder of a digital health startup, Ruthie Ha, and her clinical partner for pushing more than 40 million pills of Adderall and other stimulants through an online system with very little real medical oversight.
Now here's what makes this story even more striking. This wasn't someone outside the system. Ruthie Ha was highly credentialed, trained at Carnegie Mellon, educated at Peking University, with product roles at major tech companies like Facebook and Tencent. She knew exactly how to build platforms that...
Oh, did you see that? She was also employed at the UNDP, UN Development Portal, something like that. Forces on anti-trafficking efforts in East and South Asia.
Knew exactly how to build platforms that scale, influence behavior, and drive engagement. And according to the evidence presented in court, that expertise was used to build a system designed not around patients, but around growth, retention, and revenue. We're talking about short, superficial evaluations.
So using the DUM platform has actually just been like such a game changer. The web page came up after that, and it was like 3 buttons. I just don't understand how we are able to get this kind of level of catering for our ADHD needs.
Well, the government doesn't understand it either because it's totally criminal.
Pressure to prescribe auto refills with no real clinical interaction. Even prescriptions continuing in some cases when patients were already showing serious mental health complications.
You know what's crazy? If you're like a real person who has ADHD and you need Adderall, like legitimately, if you're like just going to the doctor, they make you go back to the doctor every single month. You don't even get automatic refills that way.
And when scrutiny started to build, prosecutors showed that operations were shifted overseas, including to China, and communications were moved to encrypted, disappearing channels. That's not transparency, that's evasion. Let's be very clear about the medicine here. Drugs like Adderall can be effective when prescribed responsibly. But without proper diagnosis and follow-up, you're opening the door to addiction, anxiety, psychosis, even overdose.
Yeah, if you don't need Adderall, I mean, it's speed, right? If you don't need it, for real need it, then it can totally have a really, really negative effect on your life. All right, also from the FBI, today's stories behind the numbers. The FBI's 2026 National Healthcare Fraud Takedown to date has resulted in 455 individuals charged in connection with $6.5 billion in fraud. This alleged fraud involved $6.5 billion in false claims, significant patient harm, including death. Of the 455 charged, over 90 are doctors or other licensed medical professionals. I would like to know how many of them are H-1B visa holders or who emigrated to the United States. With partners in 56 federal districts, 45 U.S. states and territories, and 50 state Medicaid fraud control units participating, this takedown is the greatest whole-of-government effort to combat healthcare fraud in U.S. history. I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, you guys. So let's go ahead and see. We have a couple more thank yous over here on Pilled. First of all, Sean Joe, thank you again for being an MVP. Appreciate the cookie. Darla says, I suggest that you should serve without pay. You should be willing to serve the people on your own, calling to the task. So which are you talking about, like in politics in general? I guess it depends on which position you're speaking about, because in most of these instances, being a good legislator should be a full-time job. And if you are a full-time legislator and you have a full-time job, I don't know how you would be able to split the time going back and forth between it, unless we somehow structure it to make being a legislator or having a position in some position of authority by nature not a full-time job, requiring you to remain at your full-time position. So yeah, I guess I would need a little bit more background on that. Darla also says, President Trump serves we the people without collecting a salary, so should Congress, and 2 term limits. Well, the difference with President Trump is that he's already a billionaire, so he doesn't need any additional money. A lot of those people coming to Congress, they become billionaires after they become congressmen. So yes, I understand where you're coming from. And I think that if we were to change the makeup of Congress, as I've suggested in the past, go with the prescription from the Constitution, it give us far more representatives. We should have hundreds more representatives, force those people to live in their district, to work in their district, and to live amongst the people that they represent. I think that the makeup of Congress would be changed indelibly, and it would be made up of people who are truly doing this for the love of the service that they're going to be giving to the people that they're representing. And if you have to live and work around the people that you're representing, it's going to be far more difficult for you to just be a corrupt POS. These people being separated from those that they represent, it allows them to exist in the cesspool of Washington, D.C., and to much more easily be converted into a deep state asset and to be co-opted by the money. All right, so I believe that is it. Let me just make sure that actually I can tell that there's nothing on Ko-Fi, and I'll look on Cash App. Colin last Thursday said, for looking a little pale, get some sun. So I actually am getting sun every single day, but sometimes the lighting in here makes me look paler than I actually am. But in person, people always say that I look a lot darker than I look on screen. So anyways, I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you very much for hanging out with us today. If you haven't yet, hit the like button. Help us out by sharing the show. That would really go a long way. Tell people that you should probably tune in with us and hang out, because this is the best chat on the internet. I have such a good time hanging out with you guys every day. Now I am going to go make leftover stuffed peppers for myself and my wife. Let me pass out the gold pills, and there you go over on Pilled. And then I will also set up a raid to send the viewers to another stream. Let me see who is live out of my buddies. Quite Frankly. I love sending people to Quite Frankly, because Frank is a scholar and a gentleman, and he's always been such a good friend of the channel. So let me set that up. And don't forget, I will be live tomorrow at 5 p.m. for another episode of Red Pill News Live. Until that time, good luck and God bless. We'll see you guys. please hit that like button.